Hello, and welcome to our first video, our introductory video, on our series of apologetics. My name is Michael, and I'll be your guide as we explore the topic of defending and explaining our faith in God. In this series, we're going to talk about the different arguments and evidence that support the Christian faith. We will look at the existence of God, the nature of God, the reliability of the Bible, and the person of Jesus Christ. We'll also address some common objections to the faith, such as the problem of evil and suffering. But before we dive into those topics, let's start by defining what apologetics is. Apologetics comes from the Greek word apologia, which means simply defense. In a religious context, it refers to a branch of theology that's concerned with defending and explaining religious doctrines. Most everybody will use this word, so we'll stick to it. But basically, it just refers to the idea that you need to build a foundation for your faith, otherwise it can be easily washed away. Now you might be wondering, why do we need to defend our faith? After all, isn't faith a personal thing? Well, yes, faith is a personal thing. But that doesn't mean it's not worth defending. In fact, it's vital that we understand and can defend our faith because we live in a world that is increasingly skeptical of religion. We're bombarded with messages from scoffers that tell us that faith is irrational and outdated. And if we can't defend our faith, we risk losing it ourselves. That happened to me in college. I had what I call a borrowed belief. I was a Christian mostly because my parents took me to church, just like their parents took them to church and so on. In reality, I had more of a tradition than a true belief. I had borrowed my parents' belief and made it my own, but when I reached my 20s, I realized that I could have borrowed Islam, atheism, Buddhism, agnosticism, or any number of different belief systems, depending on the roll of the dice that was made by my preceding generations. And that bothered me. I'd seen enough in science to believe in the idea of creation through design, but was not sure which, if any, of the religions to place my faith. It wasn't until I did a deep dive into the study of apologetics that I was able to firmly believe that there was a God, that the Bible was historically accurate and was the inspired word of God. I was able to rely on this because of all the fulfilled prophecies in the Bible, which I think was God's way of self-authenticating His Word. After I found confidence in the Bible, the truth of the New Testament jumped off the pages, and becoming a Christian was as simple as acknowledging that God sent His Son for me. For me, the heavy lifting in my research was the scientific and philosophical arguments that took so much time to wade through, and I did take my time. After all, unarguably, the decision to believe or not believe in God, or to believe which of the scriptures actually came from God, is probably the biggest decision a person can make during their lifetime. So I wanted to take my time. After that, the mathematics of the probabilities involved in the fulfilled prophecies of the Bible established my belief for me that the Bible was the actual Word of God. I developed a rock-solid belief in the self-authenticating aspect of the Bible. It's genius, really. Something God would totally do in order to subtly leave His signature and His authoritative stamp on His work. It's pretty elegant if you think about it. You need to want it enough to find it. And that's what I'm going to help you do with this video series. I'm going to show you the path that I took and the results that I found. Importantly, the study of apologetics does not allow you to answer every single question thrown at you, but it does give you a reasonable and rational basis for belief. And that is all that matters. Once you have a rational basis for the belief, the rest you give over to faith, and you don't worry about trying to figure out or have an answer for absolutely everything God has done. God's ways are not our ways, meaning you can't judge God's actions or non-actions based on whatever your opinions are for what is right, wrong, or proper. Once you have things figured out and sorted for yourself, apologetics is about sharing the truth of the gospel with others. It's about being able to give a reason for the hope that we have. As the Apostle Peter wrote in his first letter, "But in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect." If you'd like to look that up, that's in 1 Peter 3:15. That, in a nutshell, is going to be how we conduct our studies in this YouTube channel and in our blog. You'll find a link to our blog below, but what you'll also find as you go through these videos and perhaps look at our blog is gentleness and respect. That's why apologetics is so important. It's not just about discovering a rock-solid reason for our own faith or simply defending our faith, which is important, but it's also about sharing the truth with others. It's about being able to give an account for the hope that we have. So come along in this journey as we look at the major arguments for the existence of God, and what that can mean for your life. Don't miss it. Hey, thanks for watching this video. I'm glad you're here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and also be sure to click the big red subscribe button and subscribe to our channel. Then, click on the white square button next to it and visit our blog. Sign up for our newsletter or send us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.